Hello, I am the cartoonist M. Rashid. I've named this video the new Black Codes and reference the hypocrisy that's a major trait of racism, the lineage-based discrimination against the Black American former slave class that we shorthand as racism in the United States of America. The hypocrisy of it is a big part that stands out to me that I like to try to capture in my work whenever I notice it. In this video, I wanted to address a comment that I saw inside of a thread from the 4chan guys where they're critiquing like some of my last few cartoons that I did over the last few days. In the middle of that thread, like people are tossing like other cartoons that are a little older into it, which are these two. Let me read you what this dude said. I mean, there was a lot of other comments that I'll try to get to that they made in that thread, but this one here like assaulted me as an artist, and I'm like, and that, you know, it kind of took me aback because it was strange in that racist hypocrisy way that like I try to zero in on. So I like, out of all the actual much more worthy comments inside of the thread, I want to highlight this one and pull it forward, you know, as the main theme of this particular video. I plan to actually like address some other stuff they said in the thread in separate cartoon follow-ups, you know, but this one here, I think I want to dig into it from my artist place. But the character had he was wearing an Italian flag as his tag, which to me gives the impression that all the smart, observant people in Italy didn't make it past that first wave of COVID, apparently. But he said, and pointing out these two cartoons, he said, 2 different comics. Rashid copy-pasted in both. And then he said, talking about lazy-ass blackies. And I'm like, copy-pasted? So I, for, you know, as you see, I showed you the 2 cartoons in question, and then I pulled forward my character who's in the same pose in both of them. But as I show you in the highlight, the side-by-side highlight, there's enough variation in me redrawing, you know, where this could realistically be considered off-model. You know, obviously I didn't copy-paste, you know. And, you know, in the tradition of the comic strip and how these characters are drawn over and over and over again, and usually simplistic styles popularized by Charles Schulz. How like a lot of the early critiques about his work is that his drawing style was very simplistic, you know, and people would actually critique him about it, because, you know, the era that he started in, he was surrounded by like some, you know, superstar cartoonists from that day, or in the golden age, or the tail end of the golden age, or whenever he actually started, you know. But the that simplistic style, drawing the same characters over and over again, and, you know, most of the history of the comic strip didn't involve the adventure strips. Most of the comic strips involve like the family, you know, and like more like toned down, more mundane, where people just standing around and talking at each other with very little movement. You know, that makes up the bulk of the history of the American comic strip. That look of the talking heads. You know, I remember a Bill Waters cartoon where he was like mocking it. You know, and had like he. I doubt that Bill Waters had copy pasted, but he certainly had the exact same head of Calvin in the series, you know, making a point. But not only did I not copy paste, that I did redraw them. And when you see my character, like most of the time, my character is holding his signage. You know, I do draw him with his hands on his hips and like other variety, just just to mix it up. But most often in my body of work, since I started, when you see him, he's usually holding the signage. You know, so the idea that I'm like copy pasting that, it's weird that he's like pushing back that way and that way when it's clearly not. So I did just out of my memory as a fan of Peanuts. Just thinking back over the years of like all the exact same poses that these classic characters that Schultz made, where if you like go to Google Images now and put Schultz Peanuts and like casually look down the like image strips of his and trace with your eye all the times where you'll see the exact same pose that Chuck or Snoopy or are in, and it's like, now show me all the times the 4chan guys called Sparky a lazy racial slur because he did that, or Mort Walker, or anybody who did the classic strips and had their character in a pose that they often repeated, and then show me where they're making fun of them and calling them lazy for it and stuff like that. Or it's just me. I drew my character in the same pose more than once, and it means I'm lazy and I copy pasted. It's a strange spin job to like pull out of your ass. It's weird out of a group of people who are objectively weird and hostile and crazy. This is weird to me. I'm like, huh? Like that's the highlight of that thread for me, because it came out of nowhere. That was the last thing I was expecting. I'm like, you what? I don't even know what, like, other than showing that I didn't copy paste it, which there's no reason for me to like. I could have just rolled my eyes and like kept scrolling, but as an artist, that was weird to me. Like that's how you gonna out of Italy? Aren't y'all famous for art in Italy? Why would you? This is demonstrably not copy pasted. I clearly like drew it over in a brand new piece with no issue in the tradition of the cartoonist. Italy is weird. I think the best of you all. I think the best of Italy died in that first wave of COVID because of you. Strange. What else did Big Knucklehead say? All right, so there's that, and then there's the actual content of these two cartoons that I might as well talk about a little, since I'm doing this video and I have them up, and that's kind of the point of the video series anyway. So we'll go into that a bit. So there's one cartoon. This is the one that's let me see what the title of that one was. the one called Maslow's Hierarchy, Weaponizing Maslow's Hierarchy, where my caricature of the 4chan guy is saying, look at he's holding his cell phone up and saying, look at this sick photo of a black African degenerate doing something objectively terrible, and tell me these people weren't better off under colonial rule. Kek. And then I'm assuming that's how you say K-E-K. And then my character is responding that despite the tradition of how the European imperialism war machine functioned, he went into that. But the one character is saying he had a Nazi flag, but he said, I doubt no one has ever done or said that to a black person, he's saying in response to this cartoon. Now, the funny thing about that comment is that I pointedly have a 4chan caricature showing a messed up image in that way, paraphrasing what he's saying, because I saw y'all actually do that while I'm lurking. This is literally a parody of what y'all do. Like, just even in the thread that I'm found these comments in, somebody posted 3 posts of these horrifying images and videos of something actually happening in Africa. It's like somebody attacking this 2 women with a machete, and so it's horrifying, degenerate stuff that y'all found online, and you're posting as some pseudo proof that the entire race are evil, and it's not just human shit, But the fact that that's actually going on in the thread while you're saying that's where I got that, bro. I got it from y'all. This is literally a parody of shit you do specifically, not some random racist out somewhere else, but no, on your site. That's what this cartoon is parodying. You're literally doing it in the thread itself to illustrate the same point that you said, I doubt no one has ever done or said that. And then you, in other places, you have the nerve to call me non-self-aware or, y'all are strange. You're a strange group. You can't even see yourself. You're probably on drugs. Is that the problem? That you can't see your own thoughts from moment to moment because you're in a haze of some type? You have to be. You have to be. Because it's strange. All right, what else did you say? This is the same Nazi guy. He's like, these don't even have punchlines. It's literally just the author self-inserting to deliver a monologue to a straw man. They're not straw man. You all are the ones who use the straw man. I'm not using straw man. I'm using actual events in history that you all typically ignore. You never want to confront the actual factual things that back my work. You ignore it. Even in the case of the black on black crime, that third false flag cartoon I made the other day, that's actually at the top of this thread in question. You all pointedly ignored or just dismissed out of hand the systemic racism events throughout history that led to the Black American former slave class artificial impoverishment in the state we're in to feed us into the prison population. You deliberately ignore broken windows and stop and frisk and all the typical white cops who think exactly like you have your exact same biases. So a black person with a toy gun versus a white person with a real gun, you will naturally just assume the white person is, up to code and has his licenses, and on sight will shoot the black person with the toy gun. That's your biases at work and how your cops are indoctrinated on top of the biases they showed up with. That's how you function. Didn't they arrest that one at the beginning? I'm not gonna say it was the beginning, but it was like when the rise of the for-profit prison system was really kicking off, and there was this one white judge who'd been with gusto and overconfidence and just sloppy, was just tossing all these kids into the prison because he was getting money from it. He was, trafficking and just getting all this side money from it. And he was so sloppy that the machine was just grab this fool and make him a scapegoat. And they just grabbed him and made this high profile thing about him. But the entire apparatus, it was still going on, just people tightened up. They wasn't as obvious and retarded as he was. So, but you saw the evidence of that thing being in place is that, I've seen you mention it on one of your threads, that the for-profit prisons, they have a government a contracted quota that they need to it's the government's job to keep those prisons filled so that they can make their money. You know this. So all these different components of this machine, the prison industrial complex that are in place, are the reason why the prisons are full of my people. Not because I'm more criminal than you. It's because you are the one in control of the apparatus and you hate me demonstrably. Just in this one thread, casually reading your comments, you can't stand me carrying on the tradition of you not being able to stand me since the 1600s. It's just how you are. It's just the nature of our relationship. The statistics look the way they do, not because I'm a criminal. They look the way they do because you are diabolical and you hate me. That's why they look the way they do. The difference between crack and getting caught with crack and going to jail and what that prison sentence came to look like versus what the sentence for powdered cocaine and what that looked like, and how we were deliberately being criminalized through the particular types of drugs we have, the difference between how the crack dealer and the crack user is treated through race versus how the modern opioid crisis functions. This is targeted and favored through the drug by the demographic who's most likely to use that particular drug. You have politicians in the 60s and 70s caught on camera admitting to that stuff. So how you play with the statistics and how you choose to explain it, the narrative you choose to make of what the statistics show is false. It's false. No one has debunked me, and no one has what did y'all say in that one comment? No one has smashed my argument. Y'all are just committed to being unscripted. You're committed to being unscripted. You've trained yourselves to stay unscripted no matter what, to the point that when you are confronted with the truth, you don't know how to handle it. You usually respond to truth by calling the truth sayer stupid. That's how you usually respond. This stupid N-word. Like, that's usually how you respond to truth and facts. Because you're trained to stay on your anti-Black American partisan script. And it does you little credit. You look dumb. All right, so what else did y'all say? This one, the guy had a USA flag. He said, in response to the other cartoon, because in that one I have the redneck guy. He's saying, "You libtards believe in tolerance. That means you got to tolerate my white Jesus-given right to abuse and exploit blackers anytime I feel like it." And he shorthanded it to say, "Tolerance means we get to kill black people." Said no conservative ever. Hold on. The way you respond every time an unarmed black person gets shot and killed by your psychopathic police, the way you respond to it all the time, you're rooting for it to be inside of the narrative you weave of an anti-black position. You spin it anti-black no matter what. You don't want to hear any other possible, no matter what. It always has to be the most anti-black, black people are inherently criminal narrative. That's how you spin every single time. Every one of you. It's how you go. You immediately try to shove it into that, no matter what happened. A 11-year-old boy with a toy gun is shot dead with a toy gun. And when you talk about it, he was the worst human that ever lived. When you mention it, from day one, from the second the story broke, when you talk about it, it was the worst thing ever. They should have shot him more. Is how you talk. So don't give me that bullshit. Your spin job always means that you get mad at the very idea that white people have to show a little bit more trigger restraint. I've seen videos where white people, white suspects are fighting the cops, and they do everything except pull their gun out and shoot. They might say, "Stop or we'll shoot," and they don't shoot. They just give up every single chance, and he end up getting away, and they end up looking stupid. With a black person, they will shoot the crap out of him, and y'all be like, "Good." So don't give me that trash. Your biases and your hypocrisies follow behind you like a blaring noise. You y'all are a mess. You're crazy. So don't, I know your position on these matters, how you flow in these matters. The root cause is because you don't want to share. You don't want to share the country with me. You want to maintain your dominant position and be the, and you want me in my second class subjugated position. That's the root cause of your hypocrisies and why you talk the way you do and why you sound the way you sound in these threads. Now, those of you who have those foreign flags, who are not the ones who have the USA flag, I get you. That's our relationship. That's just how it is. But the rest of you, this clown from Croatia and the other clown and the one from the Netherlands, these here are I think I know why you all are the way you are. Assuming you're not actually Americans just using a different flag. Assuming you actually are from the countries these flags are showing. The German guy. for centuries, the United States of America, the government of the United States of America, the white-run government of the United States of America, has been had the invitation for foreign whites to come to America and make your fortune by exploiting black people. And it's been that way since the slavery era. So it must be a part of the culture of these many white people around the globe, in Europe and Africa specifically, those communes of whites in Africa, and all the white people in Europe. It has to be a part of your cultures that the most adventurous of you could be saving your your local currency to come to America and make your fortune, and do so by exploiting my people in the grand tradition of America's peculiar institutions. And the idea that would change, that would be cut off, that I would be, as the hashtag ADOS movement is working to pull me out of that subjugated for exploitation and plunder position, that I'm finally made the protected class that I deserve to be, and be made economically whole with the return of my stolen inheritance wealth. The idea of this is where the foreign white hatred comes from. I used to think it was just because of whatever African immigrants are coming to your countries and you're mad about it. There might be some of that, but you projecting the type of hatreds way over here across the Atlantic at me the way you do, I don't think it has anything to do with the local blacks that you deal with. I don't know those damn people anyway. You specifically, it's personal against me. Because if I get what I deserve, what I'm owed, which has been long withheld from me on purpose by my local whites, if I get what I'm supposed to have, it will effectively end the white supremacist era in America. And you will be in active competition with me as a protected wealth-building ownership class. And that pisses you off. For the same reason why those savage Irish immigrants were pissed off when President Lincoln told them that when they showed up here as new immigrants, they had to join the Civil War effort on behalf of the Union. And they were furious to the point where they started the lynch mob and attacked the free blacks in New York, a part of the Gangs of New York story from that movie with Daniel Day-Lewis that they left out. Went around just burning the black orphanage down and just killing people, and drug that little girl up from under the bed in the orphanage and stumped her to death, and all that they did. And that the history of how they acted, the Irish immigrant, is never far from my mind. For those of you who like to bring up that false nonsense about the Irish slaves and all that bullshit, fuck off. So the hatreds and animosity and hostile, demonic, whatever that comes from the foreign whites around the globe at me as the Black American, I think it's coming from that. Because you're crazy. You're crazier than the one I deal with all the time. It's what the fuck? I don't even know you. What the fuck is wrong with you? So reading these, the German guy in the Netherlands and all of you knuckleheads, the problem is you, not me. Get over yourselves. Peace.